The person we have today, there is no how you can do a book or do anything talking about TV series in Nigeria without mentioning his name. He has done that. I don't even know how to introduce him. Yes, he's a writer, he's an actor, he's a producer, he's a director, Mr. Tunji Bamishigbin. If you are not one of the Gen Z, you will know Palace and you will know a lot of them. Mr. Tunji, you are welcome today.
Thank you, Seun.
My first question to you, we are going straight because of time, is that then we used to, TV series used to be powerful on TV. I remember when I was growing up, there was a line-up from Sunday. Sunday, you first of all watch Tales by Moonlight, you watch Checkmate. On Monday, I've forgotten, Tuesday is Bassi and Company. Wednesday was New Masquerade. And till Samanja till the week when AIT, Village Headmaster, when AIT came, AIT tried to also have 2 or 3 very powerful series. But today, what has happened? Even I've seen that even the powerful TV distribution have tried to do a lot of series. Apart from Teen Cell, none has been able to stick with us the way it was when people rush home not to miss those TV series. What do you think has gone on? What do you think can bring it back?
Well, so many things, but basically I can talk about the laziness in the part of television stations. You know, those days, NTA was doing it right. That is, at all time, they commission programs. And most of those programs you mentioned are commissioned. I mean, well, they'll commission it, have it produced, and of course, look for a sponsor. I know Village Headmaster was being sponsored by Unilever, and was the highest, sponsor program then, because I was part of it. I started with them as a production manager, later stand producer, and then I was also writing script and then acting in it. Of course, the other ones you have mentioned, of course, Samanja too. At a point, Samanja, can't remember the content of Samanja, but I remember at the point, New Masquerade were being sponsored by my bank I work with there, UTB, and so suddenly, nobody knew what happened. Because as a matter of fact, it was AIT that gave NT challenge, particularly for that belt, that Sunday belt at 8 to 9. That was that's the highest, belt that you really can get. So when we came, because what happened was that before AIT, myself and my colleagues, Raf Mwadike and Charles Oyemi, we produced Fortunes then, in 1993. I just finished my law study. I just finished at the law school when we started it. So one of the places that we had to record the program was Chief Raymond Dokwesi's house in VI. It came so easy for us that we've never used such a palatial home. But we met with Dr. Bless with a note from Auntie Grace Egbagbe. Grace Egbagbe was executive director marketing with NTA, as like a senior sister to Dr. there from the same area. Just give us a note. I remember when we got there, myself and Raf Mwadike, we met her at the ante room. Chief Raymond Dokwesi, Tony Uya, Tony Akyosho, Egishola, Kenny Ogungbe. They were then working. They were planning to start Ray Power, So we met them. I said, we are from Egbagbe. Say about what gave him the note. Auntie Grace, you want to use this? So you go and look at it. And we entered. We never seen such a palatial home. So we started. We work in his house. For years. That's where we recorded. So when AIT started, we just met with him, Raf Radike and I. Raf just wrote the synopsis of Palace. We gave him. He said, I'm not going to look at it. You guys did something in my house that was not everywhere. So I expect that you do it. So we took over Palace. And I tell you, without necessarily making this, Palace took over from NTA. He really took over because we knew it was getting to us. At a point, NTA 2 was the most powerful and fund-yielding station of NTA. The general manager then, Ali Amin, his late Alhaji Ali Amin, sent for me through somebody. And I told me, look, I understand you guys were raised there, actress there also. That thing you are doing, how can't you bring it there? And I said, we can't bring it there. It's owned by the station and all of that, So AIT maybe because it's a new station and the person was ready for anything. And I tell you, if there was any program that AIT first had, that actually took over from it was that program. Because they had to change the soap they were doing that time, And some of my colleagues, whenever I visited NT, was like, Tunji, now, just so over time, and I tell you, in this country, if there's anybody that actually played the game as it's supposed to be, that's how what the television station is supposed to do, commissioning program, is Raymond Dobbasi after NT. And suddenly NT was not even sponsoring again. They were not even commissioning program. All other stations is all about news, current affairs, or asking you to bring your program and they'll play for you and you bring advert and all of that. Everything to their own advantage because you go and spend money, you really don't know where you're going to get your money. When you start the program, of course, the agency will tell you, let's see what you have on air. So the next 1 quarter, you are going without advert, And in some other stations, they'll tell you have to pay, not even joint, you have to pay. And also those problems, not encouraging people to produce or invest money. For some of us, we're still doing, because I know a number of programs I did on my own. But AIT, I tell you, up till 3 years ago, they were still, putting money into programs. But I mean, we are very, very close to the opposite. I am very, very close to the family with it. So that has been the problem. And again, the challenge, of course, there are so many platforms now to see program, films, and all of that. But that does not mean that either TV drama or soap opera will not sustain. Of course, definitely it will hold people if you have a very good one. Even the things that you talk about. But again, it still can happen because I believe so much in it. It's not as if I don't believe in film. I believe so much in soap opera. If you look at it, majority of our actors that started Nollywood were TV drama actors. We know a number of people. I remember when the Nollywood started, our actors then that we produced with our fortunes, Liz Benson, Ramsey Noah. I mean, Ramsey was just one of the young boys that day that were just trying to retake their school start or something. Ramsey Noah, Seun Arinse, Modu, that we used that time. Immediately they became instant actors for Nollywood. And so this, as a matter of fact, it would have been an avenue to actually scout for artists if it's still on. But a lot of people now, it's pretty difficult to invest into it because you film, like I said, you shoot, you meet the station will tell you, okay, they want to do they want to do joint we do. What's the joint? 60-40. That whatever advert that comes, they will take 60 just for transmitting on the air. They have program to show to occupy that belt, and they're also collecting your money. And so, if you don't get adverts, they will benefit by having that program occupied. So you are the one in trouble. So oftentimes you see somebody starting, never end. I was expecting TVC would do more when they came in because they started very well. We met with them. Rafa and I met with. I don't want to mention them. The person who established it. We're discussing. I was like, we don't have money like here. How can you say you don't have money like here? It's not going to start very well. So that's one of the problems.
Okay, now one of the things I want to ask you is that you seem to be a talent hunter. Because what I mean by that is that a lot of people who did Fortunes, a lot of people who did Palace, went on to become big stars. I want to ask, how do you make it happen? How do you identify hidden talents when you see them?
I don't know how to put that. I think one thing is this. Maybe what you want to ask of my surgeon in the business. I want to believe, like all of my colleagues, I have some talent, natural talent. And I went to university to study it. I have my first degree in theatre arts, So I want to say with all authority, I'm rooted in the business. And I've been doing it in the past. I tell you, when I got to the university in 1980 to study, in this 6 months' time, I wrote a play called, entitled Octorosh in 1980. It's first staged in 1981. And I tell you, till this present day, that's about 43 years, they still staged it in my university of Ilorin. And I've had a number of people that passed through it. One day I ran into Seun at the airport in Abuja. I said, Uncle T, he said, look, I used to come to your station at when they were doing Palace. I wanted to participate, but it was difficult to do and blah, blah. Uncle T, I was one that played, because he went to Ilorin too. It was in the theatre department. I was one that played Billy in Octorosh. So many people. Kayode Okwefa, the former commissioner for transport in Lagos, he was in Ilorin too. I think it's about 2 years, So he said, of course, I was one to play, blah, 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 blah. My good friend Tokunbo Afikrom, the senator, during our youth service, I was the director of theatre in NYC Theatre in Lagos State. Togunbo was part of you. In fact, as a matter of fact, I played the role I was playing when we were in school. So for me, identifying is very simple, very, very, very simple. I mean, it's not for me. I just take the business for like enjoying myself, really. Enjoying myself. So a number of people I want to learn to talk Genevieve. Funsho Adeolu, Femi Brennan, a number of them. I can't, record their name now. Without those days, we go out to record. I remember when we started doing films, myself and my partner Rafun Wadike, Most Wanted, Camouflage, all those films. We'll go out to record and we'll go back. At the end of the day, we end up in my house. All of them, they'll sleep in my living room, wake up next morning and go home. And so over time, I usually build family. That's what I try to do. We get close. I know your challenges, your problem. The other time I say, look, man, you just have to go to school. If you're doing this, you have to go to. In this generation, there's nothing you're going to tell your children that you didn't have at least OND. There's nothing because they will know that number of your contemporaries must have gone to school. So I used to encourage that. I built family around there. So at those days, like they used to call this place in the Bitemeta family, or Dunfa something. Suddenly they built a Oyokun family and all of that, So and I can tell you, I remember very well, during Palace, Fuluka Daramula was prominent. He was playing the daughter of Chief Lucas, that's Jide Kosoko.
And also Bisola Fadayomi.
Bisola Fadayomi very well. Yeah, you remember, she's in the US now. Genevieve was like a waka pass to Fuluka, one of our friends, that's it. And so oftentimes, if someone could say, this role, I said, look, just wait. Let's get the roles that would fit you, that people just say, oh, it's you. And then nobody will compete in it. So, but with time, our own time came, and then she got on it.
I want to ask you, what do you think between the old Nollywood and it's always difficult for people here because of the improved in technology, you understand? But in terms of storytelling and professionalism, how do you rate the two industry generation?
For me, it is always difficult to begin to assess period because periods are different. It's like if you want to talk of drama now, if you look at history of theater, or they will tell you it started from Athens, in the story of Oedipus, and then he moved there to that's Greek, Greek period when it's all about gods, like Oedipus race and the rest of it, which of course so they believe that's when theater started. I've always quarreled with that because what they were thinking, what they are doing with religion, gods and all of that, which we have in Africa, we have a Gungo festival, so it's difficult to say when Athens existed and when we as black people. However, of course, it goes on to the theater of gladiators, the Romans. When the Romans were, it's all about the stadium. They will carry prisoners to go and fight bull. If you finish the bull, you'll be released. Theater of gladiators. If you fight the bull and you kill the bull, you will go. When you leave kills you, that's the end of you. Then we'll move on to, you will now say history of the wars at the gross, and then we'll move to realism. Elizabethan theater, that's of Shakespeare. When Shakespeare took over, it was all about palace, about the ballad, and about the comic person and all of that. And it advanced to realism, the place of Bernard Shaw and the rest of the Ibsen, Realism, you have a home, a house, a family. You begin to see family as it were, you start to advance in social values were advancing. Then, of course, you get to Breton theater or protest. And this is response to what we're witnessing. Other was going at a point there was a protest, both in church, in government, and all of that. And that represents the Breton theater of theater. Then later I got to theater of absurd. When the world, like we are witnessing today, I think theater of absurd should be prominent now. The absurdity in the system. So at what given time, generation times will change your story, what you are telling. But if you want to ask me, the best set of groups that have existed, with all due respect, are actually the Yoruba group. In terms of story, in terms of background building of what they are doing. In our this society, I'm sure in a society like America, the likes of Baba Wande and the rest of them, they will be lecturer in some universities, irrespective of either their communication, what they want to say. After all, Babaile Bourbon, I mean, with his education is all over there, in Cuba, everywhere, where they go to give lecture on law. So that period, the challenge is determining, what you are doing. I tell you, Palace, almost 50 or 70% of Palace story, you can ask any of them that participated. I was writing them on set. I have to write, you must press it, I write it, and I give you, and then you just have to do it. So the challenge we have that time is there. But if anything that's changing today, a lot of stories that we have today are majorly copy story, more or less. Films that have been reproduced, some of the foreign films that have been reproduced, and all of this. And the society, it has changed. Take, for instance, I was thinking last week that I want to spend next year to decide not to use my telephone for any reason and see whether what's going to happen to me. But look at the life now. Is it possible for you to exist with that phone? It's just, pretty difficult. But now, so all those things, the changes that we have in the social life has determined how the story flies. And most times we don't happy about. Look, let me tell you, how do people get popular? Those days when you see your soap become popular and all of that. Today, it just become a nuisance on this thing, and then your name is all over.
Let me cut in there.
Yeah.
Are you saying that, I want to take you back a little to what you said about Nollywood and you having to do a lot on sets. Are you saying that the presence of modern technology now has made a lot of people lazy? Because we see there's a demand for content, there's a heavy demand of content that seems that even producers cannot feel that demand. And so there's a lot of junk out there too. So are you saying that the presence of modern technology and access to this modern technology is making a lot of people lazy enough that they just put out junk content?
I don't think I would say that. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that, period, the events around you determine the story that we're having around that time. The advancement we have these days, I can look back, when did we have some of these stores, KFC and Co. in our society? On our own time, we don't have them. It's Mr. Biggs are the best. It even came later, before Mr. Biggs. So it's one restaurant who will go and film. So if you tell that story, but now, if you want to tell your story, you have to go to that upscale restaurant and all of that. I don't think the technology has listened. As a matter of fact, the young people have taken challenges because younger people are more involved in production, and younger people stand to learn faster. That's the truth. They stand to learn. That's the truth. They start to learn faster. By the time you know it, they even know more than you. Some of these things. And technology has helped really. Has helped you. At those days, how do we edit? I remember we were recording Palace every week. It was because when we started, when we were giving money, it was close to the station starting when they gave us money to do it. So we didn't have time to produce ahead. So it turned out to every week. On Monday, I'll first think of the story. By Tuesday, I'll do the layout, and then so when we get to set, are you here? And I'll do your script. I give to you to do. So we were doing it. Of course, it gave opportunity for me to reflect about the society. It was done at Abacha time, so we could pick new story and say that, and people are happy and all of that. So I wouldn't say that maybe because people are much more lazier now, but again, possibility of working for them now is higher because of the equipment that you have, the editing process and all of that. When we finish recording, wherever we will have to go to AIT to go and consult. But now, I have a laptop that will edit anything anywhere we go. So that's has improved rather than discouraging, But I said, when I look at you, it's not as if I'm looking at Jumoke. I tell you.
Now, as we are gradually rounding up, those days, those TV series were some of the ways in which even government used to pass out information to people. And I remember then that MAMSA, even one way or the other, partnered some of those things. We have a problem in the country at the moment. It's difficult to pass information because of fake news. Fake news think faster than even original news now. Do you think that Nollywood practitioners should work with government in order to revive back our TV series direction, in order to educate people, and how do you think that can happen?
Your question, is it Nollywood that should work with government, or government should go and work with Nollywood people?
Or
If
maybe
they think,
Nollywood acting as a vanguard for the government, announcing, being the mouthpiece.
okay,
Sort of.
but government should identify the value that they will gain doing so. Let me tell you, in the old times, the musicians were doing this thing free, without knowing. Go and look at it. If you want to know the story of when, left and right, just go and look some music or business hobby or Maura. When there was rent control, listen to Maura, they will tell you they were doing it. Nobody was paying them, and of course they were able to tell ordinary person, the literate there, to understand the issue as it were. So, but it's government now that if NC it's not even commissioning program. So what do you say about the private sector? The private sector wants to make his money. It is NCA to say, how do we get this thing done? And again, there's a challenge even for television. People now have their phone to watch, but notwithstanding, somebody asked me some time ago, agencies still giving advice? Of course, they are still giving advice because the Teresia has its power. The strength of Teresia, you can't imagine it. You and I look at it in Lagos because you and I have DSTV in our home. Go to interior where people still, do you know that people still play VHS? VHS material still play all over on films and all of that.
Yeah.
So it's left to government to see how they can really. Those days on Village Master, whenever I would go for script writing with my boss, late Dejumo Lewis, with other writers, Uncle Wole Amele, Balogun, late, Uncle the former Oba of Owu, the very first director of Village Master, Prince Soyadosumu, later Oba Soyadosumu, late. Where we gather, the race issue going on. At all, given all those days of in the 80s, Babangida and the rest of them, they will talk about that issue. They will treat it, use story to treat it, almost virtually everything, and people get to understand what's going on. So it's left to government to know the NOA. How can they utilize it? How can they get about for even about exuberance we have among our youth? It can be addressed. It can be addressed without being didactic about it, but really. Using story to explain to people how things should go.
Okay. My final question: if you have an opportunity now and you meet the president, what do you think? What are you? And he asks you what you think can be done for Nollywood. What are you going to tell him? As somebody who has been in the industry for almost over 3 decades in different ways, what are you going to tell him?
I'll tell the government a couple of things have been done in the past where money were given to people and the result didn't come out. So oftentimes my colleagues challenge me and all of this. And I said that's my own opinion. People are already, money was given out. Nobody saw the job. I remember when Jonathan gave out the money and my colleagues were asking me and I said I was not going to collect because I felt that that's not the proper thing to do. The money, some of the people end up spending the money without actually producing anything. I must be honest about this. What they need to do is to actually put studios in place. If they really want to put studios in place, get people, there's the synergy among people. Attempt to stand your own has become very, very difficult. You know what it means to produce now? You know what it costs to produce your about pika ujale. You know what it is? The money. So if people come together, people of like minds and people who have capacity, and so you can spread this thing. Let me tell you something. Lagos State government gave out money, 2021, to support people. The amount I was given, of course, I knew it cannot produce anything. So it's like more or less palliative. I didn't collect that time. I was doing the project. I felt I collect. So the following year they gave another one. So when they gave, and the money they were giving was not so much. So Tade, my friend, and Tade, I said, look, we can do this thing. All of money given out, we all can come together, put the money together. Let's approach Lagos State, bring more money for us to do big film. We can even pay back the money you have given us. The synergy will work alone. I will tell the president to actually have people to form themselves into group, not giving individual money here.
We've run out of time. We've learned so much from you, and we hope that when we call you another time, you will come. Thank you so much.
Pleasure.
To our listeners, we hope that you've learned something from our 2 important guests today. Thanks for listening. Till next week when we bring another guest. Thank you.